Captain Elias Drake, a name whispered in fear, a name spoken with respect. He was a pirate, a captain, a legend. His eyes, blue as the deep ocean, held secrets of 1,000 voyages. Scars etched on his face told tales of battles won and storms weathered. Drake was known for his iron will, his unwavering courage, but most of all he was known for his ship, the Stormcaller. Drake yearned for adventure, for the unknown. He had heard whispers of a mythical island, a place called the Isle of Aeternum, shrouded in mystery. This island, it held the key to his deepest desire, the fountain of everlasting time. The Isle of Aeternum, a legend whispered by sailors, a place where time stood still. It was said to hold the fountain of everlasting time, a fountain that granted immortality. Drake had gathered his crew, loyal, brave souls, ready to face any danger. They were drawn to Drake's charisma, his promise of adventure, and the allure of eternal life. The journey was perilous. They had to cross the treacherous Devil's Triangle, a place where ships vanished without a trace. But Drake was not afraid. He was determined. He would find the Isle of Aeternum. He would claim the fountain of everlasting time. The Stormcaller, a ship as formidable as its captain, its black sails stitched with silver threads billowed in the wind. Cannons lined the deck, ready to unleash fury. Crafted from the strongest timber, the Stormcaller was fast, agile. It could weather any storm. Its figurehead, a fierce siren, seemed to sing with the wind. It was a warning to Drake's enemies. The crew moved with practiced ease. Their faces were hardened by the sea. They were loyal to Drake, ready to follow him to the ends of the earth. The Devil's Triangle, a place of dread, where the sky met the sea in a hazy blur. It was said to swallow ships whole, leaving no trace behind. But Drake sailed on, unfazed, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He had faced storms before. He would face this one too. The sea grew choppy, the sky darkened, the air crackled with an eerie silence. The Devil's Triangle was living up to its name. Section 5. The black mist descends. Then it appeared, a wall of black mist. It rose from the sea, engulfing everything in its path. It was unnatural, menacing. The crew watched in awe, fear etched on their faces. The mist seemed to slither, to writhe, as if it were alive. Drake stood at the helm, his face grim. He had never seen anything like this. What was this mist? What secrets did it hold? The Stormcaller sailed on into the heart of the black mist. The mist was thick, cold. It clung to the ship, to the men. They could barely see a few feet ahead. Then the whispers started, softly at first, then louder. They seemed to come from the mist itself. Whispers that sent shivers down their spines. The crew huddled together, fear in their eyes. What were these whispers? Were they voices of sirens or something more sinister? Drake strained to hear. The whispers seemed to speak of lost souls, of forgotten dreams, of the Isle of Aeternum. Fear began to grip the crew. The whispers were getting to them. Some muttered prayers, others clutched at their amulets. They begged Drake to turn back, to escape this unnatural mist. But Drake was unmoved. He would not be deterred. He would find the Isle of Aeternum, even if it meant facing the whispers, even if it meant facing his own fears. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They promised power. They threatened doom. The fate of the crew hung in the balance. Through the swirling mist, a shape emerged. An island, its peaks pierced the black mist. It was the Isle of Aeternum. The crew stared in awe, fear mixed with wonder. The island was real. The whispers had led them to it. But what awaited them on this island? Was it paradise or was it a trap? Drake felt a surge of excitement. He had found it, the Isle of Aeternum. The fountain of everlasting time was within his grasp. The Stormcaller cut through the mist. It approached the shores of the island. The whispers grew fainter, as if they were fading away. The island was shrouded in an eerie silence, a heavy silence that pressed down on them. What secrets did this island hold? Drake stepped off the ship. His boots sank into the black sand. He looked up at the towering peaks. This was it, the culmination of his quest. He would find the fountain of everlasting time, and he would claim its power, no matter the cost.
The salt-laden air hung heavy as they cut through the waves. Captain Elias Thorne gripped the helm, his eyes narrowed against the encroaching fog. A chill, unlike any sea breeze, swept across the deck, raising gooseflesh on the crew's arms. Then it appeared. From the heart of the swirling mist, a figure coalesced. Tall and gaunt, he wore the garb of a pirate captain, his tricorn hat pulled low over his skeletal face. A spectral cutlass hung at his side, its ethereal blade shimmering faintly. This was Captain Mordecai Voss, a legend whispered amongst sailors in hushed tones. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced Elias's heart. He'd heard the tales, dismissed them as mere sailors' lore, yet here stood proof, a ghost ship captain, his spectral form as tangible as the fear he instilled. Voss raised a hand, his voice a hollow rasp, echoing across the deck as he began to speak. "Turn back," he warned, his voice a low growl that seemed to emanate from the depths of the sea itself. "This path leads only to sorrow."
"Who are you?" Elias challenged, his voice firmer than he felt. He was a captain. Fear had no place on his ship.
"I am Mordecai Voss," the spectre boomed, his voice a chilling wind that cut through the salt air. "And these waters are my grave." He spoke then of a curse, a cruel twist of fate that bound him and his crew to these waters. A treasure they had sought, a king's ransom in gold and jewels, came with a terrible price. Their souls, forfeit for their greed, were tethered to the ocean depths. "We are bound to these cursed waves," Voss confessed, his voice thick with sorrow, "to wander for eternity, seeking solace but finding only despair." His spectral hand gestured to the swirling mist, hinting at the unseen horrors that lurked beneath the waves. Elias listened intently, his mind grappling with the reality of the spectral captain and his chilling tale. The crew, huddled together, their faces pale with terror, looked to their captain for guidance. The air crackled with tension as Voss prepared to reveal the key to breaking the curse. "There is a way," Voss continued, his voice a low murmur that demanded attention, "a way to break the curse, for us and for any who dare to brave these waters." He spoke then of the Chrono Compass, an artifact of immense power. It was not mere direction it guided, but time itself. With it one could navigate the currents of fate, alter the course of history. Lost within the ruins of a sunken kingdom, it was a beacon of hope in their eternal torment. "The Chrono Compass," Voss whispered, his voice filled with longing. "It holds the power to mend what has been broken, to set time aright." Elias felt a surge of sympathy for the cursed captain. To be trapped for eternity, the weight of their actions a heavy burden. He had heard whispers of the Chrono Compass, but dismissed them as mere legends. Yet here was proof, however spectral, that the stories held truth.
"Where can we find this compass?" Elias asked, his voice echoing the hope that flickered in his chest.
"Follow the siren's call to the city of coral and bone," Voss intoned, his voice fading into the mist. "Seek the oracle of the deep, she alone knows the path." And with that he dissolved, the mist swallowing him whole, leaving the alone once more. Elias traced the lines of his charts, his brow furrowed in thought. He had heard whispers of a sunken kingdom, Zephyria, swallowed by the sea centuries ago. Could this be the city of coral and bone that Voss spoke of? The crew, their initial fear replaced by a cautious curiosity, gathered around the table. The promise of adventure, the allure of the unknown, stirred within them. To find the Chrono Compass, to break the curse and perhaps claim a piece of its power for themselves. Following the ghostly captain's cryptic clues, they navigated treacherous currents and uncharted reefs. Days turned into weeks, hope waxing and waning with each passing sunrise. Then it emerged from the blue depths, a sight that stole their breath away. Towers of coral and seashells reached towards the surface, remnants of a once great city. Schools of fish shimmered through arched doorways, their scales catching the sunlight filtering through the water. This was Zephyria, a haunting testament to the power of the sea.
As they drifted closer, the crew marveled at the city's spectral beauty. Intricate carvings adorned the buildings, depicting scenes of a vibrant civilization lost to time. The silence of the deep pressed in on them, broken only by the gentle creaking of the ship. They had found Zephyria, but danger lurked within its watery embrace.
You seek the Chrono Compass, a powerful artifact sought by many, possessed by few. Its power comes at a price, a trial that tests the very core of your being.
Within the heart of the ruined city, amidst a garden of bioluminescent flora, they found her. Seraphina. Her skin shimmered with the colors of the deep, her eyes like twin pools of moonlight. The oracle of the deep, they realized, was no mere myth. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The promise of the Chrono Compass, the chance to break the curse and claim its power, felt within their grasp. Yet the oracle's words hinted at a challenge, a danger that lurked within Zephyria's watery embrace.
A beast guards the compass, a creature of immense size and fury, its heart consumed by the darkness of the deep. The Leviathan. Defeat it, and the Chrono Compass is yours.
As if summoned by her words, a shadow fell over the city. The water pressure changed, a deep, guttural moan echoing through the ruins. The Leviathan, a creature spoken of in hushed whispers, was real, and it was here. Terror, primal and instinctive, gripped Elias and his crew. The Leviathan, a creature of myth and legend, was a tangible threat. Its power, palpable in the tremor that ran through the water, dwarfed their own. They had sailed into the belly of the beast, and their courage was about to be tested.
We will face this beast, for Captain Voss, for our own freedom, and for the Chrono Compass.
Elias drew himself up, his fear momentarily forgotten. Seraphina regarded them with ancient eyes, a flicker of approval in their depths. She knew the risks, the potential for sacrifice. Yet she also sensed the courage that burned within them, the unwavering determination to break the curse that plagued these waters.
Very well. Defeat the Leviathan, claim the Chrono Compass, break the curse. Only then will the souls lost to these waters find peace, including your own.
With that, she retreated deeper into the ruins, leaving Elias and his crew to their fate. The task ahead was monumental, fraught with danger. But the promise of the Chrono Compass, the chance to right past wrongs, fueled their resolve. The battle was long and arduous. The Leviathan, a creature of immense strength and fury, tested the limits of their skill and courage. Yet fueled by the promise of freedom, they fought with the heart of sailors born. Harpoons flew, cannons roared, the water ran crimson with the blood of the beast. Finally, with a last defiant roar, the Leviathan succumbed, its immense bulk sinking into the abyss. The crew, battered but unbroken, had triumphed.
The Chrono Compass, it's ours.
Their reward awaited. The Chrono Compass, pulsing with an otherworldly light, lay nestled within the heart of the Leviathan's lair. The key to breaking the curse, to setting time aright, was theirs. As Elias reached for the compass, he could almost hear Voss's voice, a whisper on the wind thanking him for their bravery. Their adventure was far from over, but for now they had faced their fears and emerged victorious. The Chrono Compass was theirs, and with it the chance to rewrite history itself. The lookout's scream sliced through the salty air. Leviathan, starboard side! Panic surged through the crew. They scrambled for their positions. Fear was a tangible thing, cold and sharp. The ship, once their sanctuary, now felt like a fragile raft. The Leviathan was upon them. The creature was colossal. It dwarfed their ship, a mountain of muscle and scales. Its eyes, twin orbs of molten gold, fixed on them with chilling intensity. The Leviathan opened its jaws, a gaping maw of razor-sharp teeth. It was a nightmare given form. The crew held their breath. This was no mere beast. This was death incarnate. The Leviathan lunged. Its massive head slammed against the side of the ship. Timbers groaned and splintered. The crew was thrown off their feet. They slid across the wet deck, clinging to anything they could grab. "Man, the cannons!" Captain Amelia roared, her voice barely audible above the tumult. "Blast that beast back to the abyss!" Powder monkeys scurried, their faces pale but resolute. They ferried gunpowder and cannonballs with a frantic urgency. The Leviathan roared again, a sound that shook the very foundations of the sea. This was a fight for their lives. The cannons thundered, a deafening roar that momentarily pushed back the fear. Smoke filled the air, acrid and choking. The cannonballs found their mark, slamming into the Leviathan's thick hide. The beast roared in pain, its body convulsing. The attack had enraged it, fueled its fury. It thrashed and writhed, its massive tail rising from the water like a monstrous serpent. The crew held their breath, bracing for impact. The Leviathan's tail slammed down on the water. A wall of water crashed over the deck, threatening to capsize the ship, but they were still afloat, still alive. The battle raged on. The crew fought with the courage of desperation. They knew that even if they survived this encounter, the Leviathan would likely haunt their dreams forever. But slowly, gradually, they began to gain the upper hand. The constant barrage of cannon fire was taking its toll. The Leviathan's movements were becoming sluggish. Its roars were laced with pain. Finally, with a final earth-shattering bellow, the creature submerged. The sea fell silent. The crew, battered and bruised, stared at the spot where the Leviathan had disappeared. They had won, for now. Captain Amelia, her face etched with exhaustion and relief, turned to Serafina. Serafina, the enigmatic woman who had promised them safe passage through the treacherous seas. The price? Facing the Leviathan. "You kept your word," Captain Amelia said, her voice hoarse. "Now keep your end of the bargain." Serafina smiled, a slow, mysterious curve of her lips. She held out her hand, and in her palm rested a compass. But it wasn't like any compass they had ever seen. This compass glowed with an eerie internal light. Its needle spun wildly as if caught in a whirlwind. This was the Chrono Compass, a device of immense power capable of guiding them through time and space. "It will lead you to your destination," Serafina said, her voice barely a whisper. "But be warned. The Isle of Illusions is not for the faint of heart." Section 6, Isle of Illusions. The Chrono Compass pulsed with a strange energy, guiding their ship through the mist-shrouded seas. As they sailed, the air grew heavy, thick with anticipation and a growing sense of unease. And then they saw it, the Isle of Illusions. It loomed out of the mist, its silhouette constantly shifting, as if the island itself was unsure of its own shape. The sky above the island was a swirl of unnatural colors, a perpetual twilight that cast long, distorted shadows across the choppy waters. "What is this place?" whispered a crew member, his voice filled with awe and apprehension. Section 7, Twilight Land of Phantoms. As they drew closer, the island revealed itself in all its unsettling glory. Jagged cliffs rose from the sea, their peaks lost in the swirling mist. The beaches were a shifting kaleidoscope of sand and seashells, the colors so vivid they seemed to pulsate. But it was the illusions that were the most unnerving. Ghostly figures flickered in and out of existence, their forms shimmering and indistinct. Buildings materialized from thin air, only to dissolve into wisps of smoke. The island was a waking dream, a place where reality itself seemed fluid, unreliable. "Stay close," Captain Amelia ordered, her voice sharp, "and trust nothing you see." Section 8, The Island's Test. As they ventured deeper into the island, the illusions grew more intense, more persuasive. Whispers followed them, disembodied voices that seemed to slither from the very air itself. The ground beneath their feet felt unstable, as if the island was alive, breathing. They encountered strange creatures, phantoms and beasts that seemed to be woven from shadows and mist. They fought off attacks from phantom pirates, their cutlasses passing through their bodies with a chilling coldness. The island was testing them, pushing them to their limits. But why? Section 9. Worthy or not, the realization struck them all at once. The Isle of Illusions wasn't just a place. It was an entity, a being of immense power that fed on their confusion, their fear. It was judging them, assessing their worthiness. Only those who were strong enough, brave enough, and clever enough would be deemed worthy to possess the secrets the island held. The question was, did they have what it took? The fate of their quest, their very lives, might depend on the answer. The ship cut through the mist. It was a magnificent vessel, the Crimson Dawn. It sailed towards the unknown, its destination, the fountain of everlasting time. Aboard were 3 brave souls. There was Anya, the fearless navigator. Her maps held the key to their quest. Next to her stood the strong and silent warrior Bjorn. He carried the weight of a hidden past. Leading them was the wise Elara. Her knowledge of ancient lore was their only guide. They sought the fountain's gift, eternal life. But the journey was fraught with danger. Ancient texts spoke of 3 mystical gates. Each gate held a trial, a test of will and spirit. Only then could they reach the fountain. Their hearts pounded with anticipation. The crew of the Crimson Dawn was ready to face their destiny. The first gate loomed before them. The Gate of Shadows, it was called. A sense of dread filled the air. As they stepped through, darkness consumed them. Their senses were assaulted. Whispers echoed all around. Each whisper spoke of their deepest fears. Anya saw visions of her ship lost at sea. Storms raged, tearing it apart. She trembled, her grip tightening on her map. Bjorn confronted images of his past battles. He saw the faces of those he couldn't save. Guilt and anger welled up inside him. He gripped his axe, a low growl escaping his lips. Elara witnessed the world consumed by fire. Her precious books turned to ash before her eyes. She felt a wave of despair wash over her. The whispers taunted them, fed on their fear. They had to stay strong. To succumb to fear was to be lost forever. The Gate of Time stood before them, a swirling vortex of colors. Stepping through, they landed on familiar ground, but something was different. They were thrust into their pasts. Anya found herself on the deck of her father's ship, a young girl again, watching him sail away, never to return. Tears streamed down her face, the pain of his loss still fresh. Bjorn relived a fierce battle. He saw his own hand strike down his brother in the heat of combat. The memory, buried deep, surfaced with agonizing clarity. He fell to his knees, a roar ripping through him. Elara stood in the ruins of her childhood home. The fire that consumed it all raged around her. This time she saw her own figure, a scared child, trapped within the inferno. The guilt of survival crushed her. The Gate of Time was a cruel tormentor. It forced them to confront their past regrets, their deepest sorrows. Battered but unbroken, they reached the final gate, the Gate of Souls, a shimmering portal of ethereal light. It demanded a heavy price, a sacrifice of their most prized possession. Anya stepped forward. With trembling hands, she offered her precious map. The map that had guided her all her life. It dissolved into dust, scattering in the ethereal wind. Bjorn followed, his face etched with pain. He untied his axe from his belt, the axe that had been his faithful companion. He laid it down, a symbol of his violent past. The axe vanished, leaving behind an eerie silence. Elara approached the gate. Tears streamed down her face as she held out her spellbook, the book that held all her knowledge, her life's work. It too disappeared, absorbed by the gate's ethereal light. They had paid the price, offered their most cherished possessions. Now the path to the fountain of everlasting time lay open. Section 5, A Glimmer in the Void, the Fountain of Everlasting Time. They emerged into a vast cavern. Before them lay the Fountain of Everlasting Time. It shimmered under a sky full of stars. A waterfall of liquid silver cascaded into a pool. The air hummed with ancient energy. The sight took their breath away. This was the prize they had risked everything for. Anya, Bjorn and Elara cautiously approached the pool. They had faced their fears, their regrets, their pasts. They were forever changed. Was this the end of their journey, or was it just the beginning? As they reached the pool's edge, a figure materialized from the shadows. A cold dread filled the air. It was Captain Mordecai, a name whispered in legend. He was the Crimson Dawn's former captain, lost at sea years ago, but his eyes burned with an eerie green light. His skin was pale, almost translucent. He was no longer the man they once knew. The fountain had not granted him life, but something else, something far more sinister. Mordecai let out a chilling laugh. The fountain does not give life, he rasped. It grants only eternity. He was bound to the fountain, a cursed undead guardian. The crew of the Crimson Dawn had stumbled into a trap far more terrifying than they could have imagined. Their quest for eternal life had awakened a nightmare. Mordecai lunged at them. His spectral hand crackled with otherworldly energy. Anya, Bjorn, and Ilara scattered. They were no match for his newfound power. He moved with unnatural speed, a phantom of his former self. The cavern echoed with his chilling laughter. "You sought to cheat death," he boomed, "but you have only hastened your own demise." Bjorn met his attack head-on, but his axe passed right through Mordecai's spectral form. The captain's laughter echoed through the cavern. He was invincible, bound to this place for eternity. Anya tried to reason with him, reminded him of the man he once was, but Mordecai only sneered. "That man is gone," he hissed. "There is only the Guardian now." They were trapped. Their dreams of eternal life turned to ashes. The fountain of everlasting time, once a beacon of hope, now felt like a prison. Mordecai was relentless. He toyed with them, reveling in their despair. They fought back with every ounce of strength they had left. But it was no use. Anya's maps were gone, her path forward lost. Bjorn's axe lay useless against their spectral foe. Ilara's knowledge offered no solace in the face of such dark magic. They were outmatched, outgunned, and out of time. The fountain, once a symbol of hope, had become a cruel reminder of their folly. They'd sought to cheat death, but only found themselves trapped in an even worse fate. The battle raged on. The fate of the Crimson Dawn and its crew hung in the balance. Would they find a way to defeat the undying Mordecai? Or would they be forever bound to the fountain of everlasting time, their dreams turned to dust? The cavern held its breath. The only sound, the clash of spectral energy and the echoes of despair. The fountain of everlasting time, a silent witness to their struggle, offered no answers, only the shimmering reflection of their uncertain future.